Proximity to whiteness can genuinely change your perception of yourself. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense. It contradicts who I am. That's the problem when you're in an interracial relationship. You're not sure why that person is there. Do they have a fetish? We ended up becoming like besties, like BFF for life, la la la. I did like him and wanted to be his girlfriend, whatever, but that just never happened because this might not be because he was white necessarily. Yeah, here's what they don't tell you about dating a white boy. I don't ever talk about this on the internet because this is not something that you want to share, really. I mean, it's not cool to, this whole thing started when I was in middle school. I went to a predominantly white school. I was not the beauty standard, right? Like women like me were not the beauty standard. It was hard. Like it was hard growing up ugly. You know, early 2000s, early 2010s, blonde hair, blue-eyed, some redhead girls, some brunettes, but it was just mainly blonde women were like seen as hot and everybody else was just like not important. So yeah, there was this white guy that I liked in middle school and I wasn't obsessed with him, but yeah, I really liked him. I really liked him and he was funny. He was just funny as hell. We all know if you grew up in a white school, you all already know those boys who play lacrosse or soccer. I don't even know, but you know what I'm talking about, like Vineyard Vines ass white boys. Anyway, white men have had me in a chokehold for a while. Since I grew up in a predominantly white town, predominantly white schools, me and my friends too, we all like bonded over this and we just knew that we were never gonna be chosen. We just knew that. No one said it, but we just knew. You know those candy grams that you would send in school? I was the type of girl to like ask my parents for a bunch of money and then I bought him like a fuck ton of candy grams. I literally bought him like maybe like 50. Everyone like started thinking he was cool because he had all these candy grams. That's the kind of person I was. It's like I knew I would never be chosen, but I still wanted to put him on, which embarrassing in hindsight, but like, yeah, that's what it was at the time. We ended up becoming like besties, like BFF for life, la la la. And you know, what happens when you're 12, you're immature and you don't communicate about how you actually care about this person because it's gay. Oh, if you say your feelings, it's gay. But then the other thing that would happen was if you had a real bond with a person of the opposite sex, people would just assume you were dating. So I did like him. I did like him and wanted to be his girlfriend, whatever. But that just never happened because A, I would never confess because I knew he liked other people. He told me he liked other people. And B, I would rather be someone's friend and be friend zoned at that point than like actually confess because I knew they were never going to choose, like I was going to be rejected because I was a black girl in a white school. Anyway, so we ended up having some falling out. That was like a huge misunderstanding. It was not that big of a deal, but we ended up like we stopped talking and that shit like really affected me. Like that shit like is something I was obsessed with for a long time. Like I couldn't get closure and I kept hoping that we were gonna be friends again. I like would remember his birthday every year. I'd like send him anonymous stuff. I would try to tell other people to talk to him for me and figure out like, cause I just couldn't approach him. Like I just didn't know how to approach him because it was awkward and I didn't know what to do. So I was just like, fuck, like this sucks. But anyway, long story short, high school happens. High school was even more white than middle school. So it was just even more, it was just even more of the same. Like I became a lesbian. I just mainly looked at girls because I was like, white men are never gonna like me. Like that's just never gonna happen. The white men that did reach out were like, you know, the redneck types they just wanted any type of cooch. You know what I mean? They wanted any cooch. They would look at any news, any tits, they don't care. Hit you up on Kik or Facebook Messenger, and dudes that would hit me up just got around who were just trying to get their dick sucked by anyone. They didn't care. That was hard because I think deep down I knew I wasn't ugly at the time, but I just had to accept that I was being seen as ugly and that I would never be asked to prom. I would never be asked to homecoming. I would never be asked out. I would never be approached publicly because people would get clowned. Like you get clowned on for associating yourself with me or my friends. And that was sickening to me because it's like, I had a friend group of baddies, okay? We're fucking bad as shit. Like we are, but yet we were being treated that way. We were being seen as ugly or like so embarrassing to be with that you wouldn't even want to be approach me in public to ask me out or something. And it's crazy because I was so funny. I was always chopping it up with the guys. They thought I was funny. They actually loved me. Like obviously you're 12, you're 14, you're 16, whatever. This is like stupid, but I missed out on something that I felt like was important to my development sexually, emotionally, and mentally in the sense of like dating and relationships because I went to a predominantly white school. Even the black boys at that time were not checking for black girls. They were only dating white women. or Latinas. And it's like, it was just foolish. It was just foolishness. I met this guy on Hinge and we hit it off like pretty instantly. Like we had a lot to talk about. Same thing as always, right? You meet this person and they have all, you know, it's great. It was just like middle school. It was just like how it was in middle school, where this guy and I had this connection and we're chopping it up. We're cracking jokes. We're having a good time. Everything is perfect. Like everything is literally perfect. There's nothing wrong with anything. And everything is great. Like everything was great. We were together for like a year and, you know, I met his family. I went to his Thanksgiving. Everything was great. Like truly everything was great. And I think it was a little too great because this is something I was building to for a long time. Having not had that attention in childhood, having had that situation stolen from me as a child, I started to feel like this guy I had found on Hinge, or this guy I attracted and manifested, was just like the pinnacle. Like I started to feel like I arrived because I finally got with a white man. And let's dig into that a little bit before I continue. So the white man is seen as the epitome of human potential. And there's actually a great quote in Interview with a Vampire, the AMC series, that says the greatest kill for Lestat, who is the vampire, was a young white man, because he was literally like at the pinnacle of human potential. He wasn't held back by racism. He wasn't held back by misogyny. And so if you took his life, it was the most satisfying kill. And this is literally what I feel like. This is literally how it feels. It's the most satisfying kill, so to speak, because you've made this man who's on the threshold of power, of opportunity, of privilege, who has the ability to have it all. You able to bag him? You get this big fucking head. You get this big head. You're like, okay, like I must be hot shit. Now I have the opportunities in life that were stolen from me, or that a black man would never be able to give me. There were situations. There was a very distinct moment where he and I were sitting in the back of his car, like cuddled up or whatever. And this cop pulls up and he rolls down the window to talk to the cop. And the cop's like, what are you guys doing back here? And my boyfriend was just like mouthing off like white men do to cops, like mouthing off. We're just chilling. Well, we can't sit here. Well, we can't sit here. And eventually he left us alone, but it was just crazy because I knew if I had been with my ex or my other like situationship who was black, it would have been over. It would have been over. And like, you know, that was very early on in our talking stage. Something about that just made me feel like, okay, like with this person, the game has changed. The rules have changed. I don't have to be afraid anymore. I don't have to suffer in that same way because I have white privilege now. Like I said, they have the greatest opportunity in life because they don't deal with sexism, they don't deal with racism, and they created the system that we all live in. They get to argue their way out of tickets with cops. They get to go into any room they want to. Everyone will welcome them with open arms. There's no place they can't go and get what they want. There's no person that is going to tell them no. Proximity to whiteness can genuinely change your perception of yourself and your perception of the world and how you move through the world. I was never thinking that deep when I was a kid, having a crush on a white boy, writing fan fiction about my classmates. You know, I think a lot of white men are catching on to the fact that they're not the beauty standard, and they're trying really hard to wokeify themselves and make themselves more palatable to women of color because I think their own women have stopped wanting them. Yeah, I do feel like white men have proven themselves to be very unsafe, like throughout history. Like, I'm not trying to dig that deep into that part about like the sociology, historical context of being white. I mean, we all know what the problem is here. We know what they did. Yeah, dating a white man has a lot of complexities to it as a black woman. That's your natural born enemy when you think about it. That's like the person that's inflicted the most trauma on you generationally. And to be with him is going to really test every part of you. It's going to make you question who you are and why you even find this person attractive in the first place. And a lot of times it's because you want to be like them. You wish that you were able to have the kind of power and confidence they have.
Emasculation and admiration in equal measure. I wanted to murder the man, and I wanted to be the man.
But I think that's like a really big caveat to being a black woman who grew up around white people and the first person they thought was attractive was a white man. That's a hard part of myself to reconcile with because it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense. It contradicts who I am. It contradicts all of the historical context that led to me being who I am. But it doesn't mean that it's not something that I did deep down subconsciously want, was for a white man to fucking choose me and for a white man to be with me. So that makes it even harder when that white man that I just was in a relationship, a 1-year relationship with, broke up with me because it just felt like I was reliving that trauma all over again. The person that I loved or the person that I wanted didn't want me, and I didn't understand why. You still have this feeling of like you're still not good enough for white America. You're still not good enough. And you know that it's not about any of that stuff. You know that it's not about white America. It's about the relationship not working. But at the same time, you can't help but wonder how much of this is about society and how much of this is just us and our relationship. That's the problem when you're in an interracial relationship. You're not sure why that person is there. Do they have a fetish? Do they really love you and want to be with you and be in a relationship with you? Or are they trying to get woke points? It's so hard to tell. And people can just go along with you for months and make it seem like they want you. But then when push comes to shove, they actually can't hang because there's also cultural differences. And it's not even just like being different racially. Like being different racially was never a problem with my ex, my most recent ex, at least not on my end. And not that I was aware of. Being culturally different was actually more of a problem because he was very, like, every holiday damn near, what we doing for 4th of July? What we doing for your birthday? What we doing for Christmas? What we doing for this? What we doing for that? That was something that created a big conflict between us because he was used to always getting these expensive gifts from his parents. And I was just there like, I don't know what to do with this. Yeah, I got him gifts, but it's like, it still just felt like nothing I did was ever good enough. I feel like a lot of white people do this though. They go fucking crazy for Christmas. Everyone gets a gift. People get multiple gifts. They're fighting to see who can get the best gift for somebody or make somebody cry at their birthday or Christmas. It's insane. Like that's like the complete opposite from how my family didn't even celebrate it at all. And it was hard. Like it was genuinely hard because growing up, we did not celebrate, we celebrated Christmas when I was a little kid. After that, I can't remember the last time me and my family really celebrated Christmas together. All that means to a poor Black family is money. Money you have to spend on something. That's all it means. And, you know, this might not be because he was white necessarily. It's just an example of a culture shock. Yeah, here's what they don't tell you about dating a white boy. It's going to rock your world. Like, it's genuinely going to rock your world. People will start looking at you differently. You will start seeing yourself differently. You will start demanding more from the people in your life because having this white man next to you makes you feel more valuable as a woman of color. Because it does. You know, we would go into rooms where I was the only Black woman and it was just a bunch of white people, his family, or different events with, you know, friends that he knew or whatever. Now, they're still gonna be racist. Don't get me wrong. They're still gonna be racist. The people in his life might be racist and he doesn't see it, but you do, right? So there might be things like that going on. At the same time, I have friends, white friends that I love, that I have very deep conversations with, that I connect to on a deep emotional and spiritual level. And I wouldn't change them. Yeah, like it sucks that they're white. Their ancestors did do horrible shit. I think it's important to have white people in your life because you need to see what that other side looks like. You need to understand where they're coming from because there's no way we're going to change the world if we do not somehow work together, if we do not actually consider each other, where each other is coming from and work together to solve societal problems. I learned a lot from dating a white man. I don't regret it at all. I do think it's hard to understand them. A lot of white men think they're down with the brown and then they get with a girl. They're not ready for it. They're not ready for the bonnets. They're not ready for the way that we act, the way that we talk, the way we communicate, how we deal with holidays, how we deal with pain, how we deal with different things in life. Remember to ground yourself. He's just a regular guy. He's actually a mediocre, stupid, goofy white guy. He don't have no master plan. He's a product of his environment and the society that we live in. He's not pulling the strings, really. He's just a bumbling idiot who doesn't even know his own power. Don't ever put this man on a pedestal because he is not the answer. Like, he's not the solution to your problems. I know it feels that way because this is your first time ever being chosen by this type of person that ignored you, called you ugly, treated you like shit when you were a child, made fun of you behind your back, probably called you the N-word. And you're trying to get with this person now because you're trying to heal your inner child. You're trying to heal that version of you that really just wanted to be seen as pretty, really just wanted to be chosen by your peers, your male peers. And that is a separate issue from your relationship with this man, but it is going to end up getting all entangled in it, and it's going to get complicated. And there's going to be that on top of the cultural differences, on top of the microaggressions, on top of you wondering, are we even a right fit for each other? And all of it's getting like jumbled up together. And you might love being around this person. You might love spending time with this person, but your relationship is going to be tested in all these different ways because you're not ready for all that stuff. You don't know how to deal with it. You haven't actually thought about it before. And Black women and white men are such a unique pairing. They're truly like, you've got two dominant personalities. We have our moods and stuff. And like a white man is not going to get down and bow down for you. He's just not going to do that. He knows his worth. And I'm not saying that in quotations because it's not true. A lot of them have a little bit of narcissism baked in. They are at the top of the food chain, and they're not going to fall for the fucking games that you play with other men. And you have to really know your power and know your worth if you're going to be with one. I finally bagged a white man, as they say. And yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy roller coaster ride. It could have been worse. So I'm grateful for where I'm at, and I don't have any regrets about anything. I'm blessed to be here in one piece and that he didn't chop me up and put me in the freezer. I love white people.